Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
I just said I need to get an afternoon track because I don't have one. So let me just get our good angle and stuff together so the folks on Instagram see us perfectly as they cut us right in the middle. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Java Cafe. It is a midday Java. Do me a favor. There were a couple of weeks ago, there was a lot of chatter on social media about a situation to which this brother is going to speak in a few minutes. And so I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and just hit that share button. So with all some of the sayings we used to say growing up, we don't say anymore. And I'm not going to call this brother a horse, but you're going to hear directly from someone that was involved in those. We're going to talk about the Mayor's Youth Council picture. We're going to talk about the Mayor's Youth Council, find out when the next round is. So, because I'm sure there was an application process. And so people that are interested can apply. Parents, tell your children. And also we're going to talk about the upcoming Mayor's Youth Summit that I believe is on February 26th. We'll get the direct date from Pedro, and we'll get some information about resources like year-long jobs as well as summer jobs. It's February, but still. So let's get ready to bring Pedro in because I know he is busy and he is not a stranger to the Java Cafe. And I will say that Pedro was at the hall today. And if you've ever been inside of, worked in City Hall, it is a cement structure that trying to have the internet work through is interesting. So if there's some things that stall or we have some technical difficulties, please give us some grace. But again, go ahead and like and share this with someone so you can hear directly about everything that's going on with the Mayor's Youth Council. We're talking about what I grew up as knowing is like positive youth development. And so, Pedro, please go ahead and greet the audience, say hello. And then I would ask you, in the midst of just so much going on, us old heads, we talk about mental health, we talk about, healthcare, and we talk about what we're seeing if you're Black or brown, but a young person, it may be interesting. So after your greeting, if you could just give us one word by your assessment with all things considered, the status of our young people.
Yeah, first of all, it's a pleasure, man. Seriously, thank you, Jimmy. I always appreciate the platform, appreciate the work that you're doing, and just opening up the space for conversations, man. I think this is really important in the work that we do here in City Hall and across our communities is to have these open conversations. It's a pleasure again. For those who don't know me, my name is Pedro Cruz. I currently have the honor and privilege of serving as the Executive Director of the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement for the City of Boston, which is just a fancy way of saying we focus on the 14 to 25-year-old population for the city. Brand new office. We're here in 3 years in February. We've been doing a lot of great work. Just really mobilizing and creating that ecosystem to make sure that the young people have what they need to thrive and to become just successful in our city. And then one word, this was always tricky for me, right? Because I think, young person in Dorchester needs something different than a young person in East Boston. And, it's hard to put them all in one word, but I would say at least my word for the young people that I know to be true is hopeful. I'm hopeful definitely for the young people.
That has always been my energy as a former youth worker, direct services worker to young people. It's been some years. It's been a few years, but that is always the approach. And I remember the day one of my supervisors told me that you're not going to be able to save every young person. Huh? I went back to my desk, Pedro, and cried like a baby. I was like, what do you mean? But we have to remain hopeful with so many things going on. I wanted to check in with you just, as I do, you're a public official and I do this with the mayor when there are interesting topics that we need to discuss. I'm sure you're aware, a few weeks ago, a picture was posted in reference to this, I don't know if you say term, this class of the Mayor's Youth Council. And I think in this also, if you could touch on, a little bit of the process. Is it a year? Is it a, school year, chronological year? If you could just give some folks some, just the overview as well. But it I'll be honest, Pedro, when I looked, I said, and you know, how do I say this? You and I, we have melanin, but we have the display of it is not heavy on the, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah. You know, some folks would say some interesting terms, but you know, um, my eyebrow went up because you know representation matters. And I will say, some years ago, you know, someone said to me, you can't make ethnic and race presumption off of appearance. You know what I mean? I've had people come up to me and start speaking Spanish and Creole, and I'm like, I, you know, hi, you know, say habla español muy, no, muy poquito, like little bit. And so, with that being said, we can't make presumptions. But again, I think Pedro, you also understand the context of the times, and so can you one, are you aware of the chatter? And then two, what is your response to it? And then I think in some of that, it would be valid to ask the question, how did it get there? And you know, I get sometimes some unsolicited I would say thoughts and then sometimes information. And it had appeared that the picture had been cropped and you know, so if you could just tell us, let's just talk about this
Yeah.
first, and then we'll get into the work that the
Yeah,
office.
definitely. Let me give you some background first, because I think it's important for people to understand. Again, that this brand new office, we took over. The Mayor's Youth Council has been around for about 30 years now. I think this is the 31st cycle. I took over the program about 3 years ago. And I think I just want to give some background so people can understand, because it's going to inform the conversation. And then I'll share my thoughts in terms of, I'm definitely aware of the chatter. I love to stay, you know, with my ear on the ground and in the community and on socials to really hear what the residents are talking about. But quick background, you know, it's a group of, you know, at the moment it's a group of 20 young people that are paid to be part of this program. They're with us Monday through Thursday, even Monday through Friday, from October to May. So we really treat it like a youth development job. It's our way of bringing young voices into City Hall. One of my biggest things was I don't want to play government, right? We want to actually put these young people to work. And again, they're with us throughout the whole school year. They serve a year, and then they have to apply again. We do have some returners, but we always try to really give you know, more young people the opportunity to sit on this council. It's a great program. We have a city councilor now, Fitzgerald, that was on the council. There's a lot of city employees that were on the council. The alumni are doing great work. So it's an amazing program. When I took over the program, it was 90 young people, right? And there's just two coordinators. It's 90 young people. 20 of them were getting paid. The rest weren't. The 20 had a higher expectations in terms of attendance. The other only showed up about once or twice to like get updates and vote on stuff. So I've been doing youth work for 20 years. And I think that's important for people to really understand that when I came here, my job was to revamp this in a way that we're being responsible. I'm where I'm at today because of mentorship. And I talk always about how important mentorship is for young people. You know, I met Chief Jose Macho, I say it all the time, when I was 12 years old. Currently have the privilege and honor of working under his leadership. But it was that mentorship that saved my life. And that's really the intention that we try to bring to the council now, that we want to be intentional about these relationships we're building with young people. And we want them to translate into long-lasting relationships, right? So that was really what brought us. So I brought it down to 20 because that's more responsible in terms of the number of staff that we have. You know, I want to be able to see a young person in the street and know that they're on the council. When there's 90, it's just almost, and then all those different levels of commitment, it's almost impossible to build a relationship in a way that you want to with these young people. So that's one of the first changes that we did make in that. And that's just a quick background. But now jumping over to the conversation, right? I'm going to share a few facts that don't change the conversation. To be honest with you, it doesn't change the conversation, but I think it's facts that need to be included and aware. The photo was cropped. You know, I was in the original image. Chief was there. Like, it was much larger, right? So I was cropped out. So the image was cropped, and this was the swearing in day. That meaning that not all young people showed, right? This is just the one day that they got sworn in. So they might have been, again, doesn't change the conversation. And I'm transparent about that. This conversation is still needed and it should still be had. But those are just things to consider as well too as we talk about this. What I want to jump into now is to share the actual demographics of what we have now on the council. Because again, I want to base it on actual data and actual facts when we have this conversation. And then I'm going to jump into criteria on how we got here to answer that question. So the current council right now, it's made up of 10% is Black and African American, 15% identify as North African, 25% identify as Asian, 15% identify as South Asian Indian, and then 35% identify as Caucasian. So our council is made up of 65% minorities at the moment. But with that, I want to jump into the criteria, right, of what we choose. In the past, because there were 90 and they were all level commitments and a lot of them weren't getting paid, it was easy to just flood it with young people and just like everybody gets to see. One of the things I wanted to do when under my leadership was be intentional about it, right? We had I've experienced, the first year I made no changes. I literally wanted to go a whole full cycle of watching how the program runs before I start making deep changes. Last year, we implemented some minor changes, and this year, and it's all based on programming. But the biggest thing that I noticed was commitment, right? A lot of young people would start with the council, and then by the end of it, the numbers would drop because they would go off and do sports, or they would do clubs, or they would do these extracurricular activities. One of the major issues too that I noticed when I took over the program is there was majority BLA, BLS kids, right? And that even speaks to the system, right? That those schools usually have a lot more resources. And that's why a lot of those young people were just aware of it. And we were just getting flooded with applications. So one of the first things we even wanted to do, and we're being intentional about it, was I want a kid from Madison to feel like he can be on the council. I want a kid from English, from all these different schools, man. We want all young people across the city, no matter what, to feel like they're able. So we've been super intentional about that marketing as well, too. We've been going to schools. We table at schools literally during the cafeterias. We opened up the application to year round. So now at any moment you can apply for it to be considered for the upcoming cycle. We work with community centers and community based organizations to make sure that young people are aware of this opportunity. So we've been really intentional about the marketing side of it. The criteria on it too, again, for us, the main priority was the commitment, that if any young person was going to end up being busy for 3 to 4 months during the school year and not be able to attend our council because of sports, because of basketball, because of volleyball, because of football, then it's just, you no longer qualified for the council, because we wanted full commitment from October to May so that we don't go from 20 to 15 and then to 12 because the kids are dropping out for all these other reasons. I think another thing to be true as well too with all programs is that a lot of these young people have adult situations at home. A lot of these young people have adult problems that they're dealing with, and their financial situation impacts their households too. So we also lose young people to the fact that, I can only pay them 8 to 10 hours per week when Stop and Shop or Target's offering you 15 to 20 per week, right? And now I'd rather go with the hours too. So again, that was really how we got here too. We were really intentional about it, making sure that the young people had nothing else going on outside of this commitment, that they're going to be able to commit. Another thing we considered too was travel. Back in the day, and I've heard this from a lot of old members, was that they had a quota of like X amount per neighborhood. But me coming at it from a youth development professional lens is that we got to be responsible with these young people too, right? If you have an hour and a half commute to come to my program and I'm letting you go at 6:30 and you're not getting home to X amount of time, then you got to go do your homework, then you got to eat, what weight is that really having on the young people too? So we were really intentional about the selection in terms of, it was really based off commitment this year. And then another thing for people to understand, and again, I know it should be true, I've been working with youth programs for 20 years, is that every cycle looks different. A few years ago, there was 3 years ago when I first took over the cycle, there was a similar conversation that came up, but from a different community in the city in terms of diversity too. So again, every cycle looks different. It's all based off commitment. It's all based off involvement, time going home. Can you commit 4 to 5 days a week? So based off that, we made the selection of the young people that we have for this cycle.
I want to just make sure I heard a few things correctly. One, that, it's sort of downgraded for the purpose of compensating them for their time, which they should be. I also heard the marketing, and I hear, Pedro, the general overview of some of the challenges, that it's to hear that it hasn't changed. I maybe have about 10 more years than you, and to hear that it hasn't changed. And that's sort of a general overview. Thank you for the percentages. And, with your ending point, I get it. Marginalized communities need to see equity across the board. And that is not just with race and ethnicity and gender, that is sexual preference, that is income, that is education. Well, that is learning style. We're talking about our young people. If they, are unique learners in some ways, what still sort of, and the other part I wanted to state was that you said that everybody did not show up for the photo op, and photo ops are, what they are, with the swearing in day. And so one of the questions is, did you guys crop yourselves out because you were staff? And why were you all cropped out? And then there's still a little bit, Pedro, of, with that understood and understanding systems and being a former youth worker, I I hear the intentionality, and then, based on what you said of past experience where different communities may have not felt that there was a balance, could there have been more intentionality that with this class moving into a space of every class being different with heavy some of the numbers are close, but where the numbers of what you stated are more balanced. I heard the word intentionality a lot there. So, why was it cropped? And then, could there have been more intentionality and with everything you said, applications, commitment, and things like that. But then if I understood you right, is that a large part of the reasoning why we see 10% who identify as Black?
Yeah, no. So first of all, we didn't crop it. The whoever started the conversations online, the original image, the original image is on the city of Boston, and it
Okay.
got cropped. So it wasn't on our end
Yep.
that it got cropped. And then I think, to answer your question in terms of like who we could always be more intentional, right? Like I'm always about improving, man. That's why I'm here having this conversation. And anybody else that picked up the phone and has my number, I've had this conversation candidly, and I haven't hid from it, because I'm all about improving. That's been the goal from day one. And I've learned too that there's always ways we could be better. So like, is this conversation going to inform our decision making moving forward? Of course we are, right? We're still going to keep the criteria. We're still going to keep our level of commitment. But again, for me to say no, that we can't be more intentional, like that would be silly, man. And it doesn't just apply to this; it applies to everything else in terms of getting them involved in real work in the city, and just with everything. Like there's always room for improvement, and that's just the truth for youth development. So 100%, we could always be more intentional and always do better, and that's always the goal. The goal is always to do better, and our heart's always in that place of like, how could we do better? And the young people, I think, are the main focus for us always, man. That's why we even downgraded, because like, how could we do better and have a much larger impact on these young people? One thing I do want to say out loud, though, that I think people need to consider is that, the representation and the voices of young people are not limited to our council, right? Like, these are not just the 20 young people we're listening to. We actually launched, under my leadership, we launched a coalition of youth councils, because there's all these different youth councils in the city that just should be talking together and working together. And that's under the mayor's youth council. They're actually leading that coalition that's made up of the BHA Teen Council. It's made up of BSAC, Boston Student Advisory Council, the ICA, MFA, ZooMix, Santana's Youth Force. We have about like 8 to 10 different councils. Another project they work on is town halls. That's the first things they did this year, was do town halls across the communities and across the city to hear from their peers. So I just want to make it very clear out there to the public that the voices we're hearing from are not limited to this council. We create spaces and everything we do, even with the summit, which we'll talk to in a bit. We do focus groups in the community before we even start planning. We do focus groups with young people to see what they want to see, what day of the week, what time, what food, what guests. When we did our youth needs assessment survey, we ran that by young people. Everything that we do in my office, man, we make sure that we include youth voices. So that would be just something I really want to uplift, that I think might be not understood, that's not the only 20 voices we're hearing from too. We definitely hear from all young people from across the city, from all neighborhoods, and all the work that we do, and we're constantly bringing them to the table.
You see me in the background. I just want to make sure as we get ready to move into the youth summit, to make sure that folks are going to have the information. You talked about some alumni in here, and these, you weren't around when Charlene was there, but she's a mover and shaker in the city and talks about the model of it. There's quite a few people that I know that came through the council that became elected officials. And so I appreciate your transparency and just answering directly, and willing to be more intentional. And you can feel free to definitely update us. You did, and for people that have any young people that are interested, the council application is all year long. So a couple of questions, because I promise you this whole interview wouldn't be about this. But I think you giving us sort of some context, and then, explaining how, so with I was going to say with the 10%, wasn't none of them available at the swearing in photo op to come in? That's just me asking Pedro.
No, for sure. Aren't there? No. I'll be, again, transparency, man. Yeah. I couldn't tell you exactly who missed that day. I'm just bringing up facts of just stuff that's to be true. I couldn't tell you who missed and who wasn't there, off the top of my head. But again, it's one of those things. Again, I think the biggest thing is that the council changes, man. It changes every year, and next year will be intentional. And one thing, again, we're always looking for ways to improve, man. And it's a community effort, man. It's a collaborative effort. So I'm willing to, again, like, hold me, and I'm saying this to your public, hold me accountable now moving forward, and make sure that, again, the application is open. Have your young people apply. If you have young people that you want to see on that council, shoot me an email and give them a reference. Again, we're always trying to be intentional. It's really down to the commitment for us, but we definitely want to continue diversifying, not just even with the geographics of it, but also just the schools. We want to make sure that a lot of BPS kids are good, and it's not just private schools or all these exam schools. We want to make sure that all BPS schools are represented too. We want to make sure that neighborhoods and race, ethnicities, all that good stuff. And again, every year is going to be different, but it's all about us, holding me accountable to be intentional moving forward with our leadership and making sure that the representation is there.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I wanted to let folks know, when we talk about like recommending and the link, there's a couple of links, and I did just put them on James Hill's as well. One of the first links that are in the comments right now, just on the Java page, this is the year-long open application, not just application, but get information about the Mayor's Youth Council. And then I just put up, and we're getting ready to talk about this now. I just put up, hitting up all the school counselors. That's how I found out about it. So, Charlene, we don't, and this ain't Pedro's area, but we don't have as many guidance and school counselors as we did back in our day. I want to make sure that folks know that the Mayor's Youth Summit information is up as well, as much as the application process. And Dina, thank you for the point of, I heard the overview, and it feels it is a reasonable way to decide who can participate. I think if we, the people, feel we know potential candidates who will qualify, then we should encourage them to apply, since you can apply all year. And I think, and Frederick, he addressed the crop out piece and didn't know who was there, and it was his photo, or the city's photo, wasn't the one that was cropped out. So thank you for that clarity, because I think, and you understand, Pedro, as I said in the beginning, in these times and some recent things that have been going on in the city, the density of how all that stuff happened, everybody's like, now, wait a minute. So, but one of the other ways, as you said, that young people can be a part and lend their voices is the Mayor's Youth Summit. And, I always confuse the Mayor's Youth Summit. Remember the Peace Conference Summit that used to happen?
Yeah.
Now, shout out to the Mayor's Youth Summit. But back in the day, teen empowerment back in the day. But let's talk about the Mayor's Youth Summit that's coming up. Is it the 26th?
No, so first of all, like I told you too before we got on this, man. I'm here to talk about whatever your community wants to talk about
Yes.
too, man. So
Yep.
so we'll definitely take this conversation in any direction that I think will inform the people the most. But in terms of the summit, it's February 21st. It's
Oh,
actually about a week or so away. It's on a Saturday from 3 to 6 p.m. at Artists for Humanity. I encourage for you to get all young people to sign up. We brought it back after a 20-year hiatus. This is our third year doing it on an annual basis. We always do it during February vacation to make sure that young people have something to do during that time period when they're not in school. But it's always a good time, man. It's really a celebration for young people, man. It's really what it is. It's not a summit the way you would think about it in terms of like panels and breakout rooms. It's one big celebration, great food, great merch. We give the stage to a lot of young people across the city to perform. We give out raffle prizes to the young people. The mayor comes and speaks. We give out an award to young people that are nominated by organizations. We give out awards to organizations that are nominated by young people. So again, it's really like our engagement point. A few months after that, it's going to be the city's youth resource and job fair, which happens in April. So we try not to duplicate efforts, right? So we save the resources and the jobs for that event. So this one, it's really strategically, it's our way to engage with young people. The first year we had 300 people in attendance. Last year we had close to 500. This year we're hoping to pass that a little bit. But it's really our way to create these spaces to celebrate the talent that's around the city, celebrate the young people doing amazing work, engage with them, let them know that the city cares about them and is willing to invest in them in a large scale. But yeah, it's going to be a great time, man. And I encourage all young people, if you have young people in your network, whether it's your kids, your nephews, have them sign up, grab a free ticket, show up, and definitely won't regret it.
now, do you know where what I think it was a civic engagement summit, and there was some chatter with some folks about ensuring that there was that same level of diversity there. One, do you know at what level tickets are, capacity? And then two, is it if because knowing that and we telling folks about it now, and then they go to sign up and the tickets are going. Do you know if tickets are still available and things like that?
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Tickets are definitely available. I think capacity for the space is around 600.
Okay.
In terms of 600 is the capacity for the space. We always overshare a little bit of the tickets because we know that not everybody shows up and stuff. That's always the strategy, like usually an average about a third or half of the tickets you sell is what shows up. But no, they're definitely available, man. They're definitely available. So, and if you have a problem getting a ticket, whether you're an adult or a young person, man, reach out to me. You know what I mean? Just find me. You can find me on the city website and or just, through my socials. But yeah, definitely the tickets are still available. We want everybody to show up. It's been great these last 2 years. It's been an honor for me to bring it back after the 20-year hiatus and really open the doors. And it's really that, like, the diversity in the room is amazing, man. We get all kinds of young people from all different programs. You'll see the performers from all different programs across the city. So it's great. It's really given a stage for the young people, man, to showcase the work that they do, the art that they create, and be able to be seen and meet peers and connect and network. And it's just fun, everything from photo booths to other activations. It's going to be cool. It's going to be a really great time.
Make me want, I kind of miss my direct service days because we would do the SOS service opportunities and support. And the young people got to a point where we could just sit back and be like, so one quick thing this year, Pedro, you brought it up. This year, are you working tightly with Dr. Yablo for the job fair? Remember?
Yeah. No, I remember, man. I was there too. I was actually present at the day and helped out as much as I could. But I'm working closely with Allison Bernabé, man. She's the one that took over the summer jobs, the Success Link program.
Okay.
I think she's about 2 years in or something around those lines. Don't quote me on that. But either or, I'm working very closely with her, man. My office is one of the partnerships that really has been there from the planning session this whole year, and we've definitely taking a lot of last year's learnings into account and making the right decisions. But I trust her leadership, man. She's amazing. She's done a great job trying to really, um, make that program to be as impactful as it should be, make sure the young people have access to it. And obviously, we always want to create a safe space. Last year we saw over 5,000 young people, man, show up. And I think with just like any other event, man, when you got that many people in a room, man, there's always chances for something to kind of pop off. But no, this year we're taking all the learnings from last year, and we feel confident about the plan we're putting forward.
Let me ask you this. What is it that you would say? Because on the other side, people were saying the city or whatever. And there was some conversation online about like, parents, did you take your children? Did you bring your children? Things like that. And then there was even conversation about, reminding your children that when they're out in the street, they're representing them. What would you encourage parents to do? Is there like, and I know you're not making a formal, you're a city official, but just as a youth worker, like as a youth worker, would you say 16 and under, they come by themselves, or should they try to have their parents? Because also at the fair, I believe if they have all their paperwork, they're in a they get in the queue, I believe, quicker and easier, if everything is completed. So what are your thoughts about parents coming with them? Advice you would give the parents if they're sending them? Because young people are going to be young people, as you said. It's not an excuse, but parents have, a role too, to know where their children are and put the little GPS on their phone and sorry, that's the old school in me coming out.
No, I get it, man. And I think, not just with this job fair, but just in general, man, I think, as parents and as a parent myself, I think it's just important to always know who your young people are hanging out with if it's not you, right? And then obviously if you have the capacity, then definitely bring them. There's a lot of youth programs that are bringing the young people so they don't show up by themselves. But I think it's just that. And I think, again, it's outside of this job fair, man. You should just know who your young people are hanging out with. You should know who the crew is and who the friends is. Like my mom, when I grew up, my mom knew all my friends, man. Like my mom knew the whole crew, and we would, they would come over, they would dig into the refrigerator. My mom would get mad at that. But it was that involvement of like, I know all of you and I know all your parents. And I think I would just encourage that element. I just think it's healthy for parents to just know who your young people are showing up with, and even asking those questions like who you're going with and who are they? How do you know them? Here's my number. Call me or give me their number. But I think best practice, if they can show up with an adult, that's great. But we also don't want to create, we don't also want to live in a world where young people can't just navigate with their friends and show up for a job fair and do something positive.
Right.
But I would just say, as a parent, I would just say, outside of this job fair, just be as involved as possible with your young people, man. Just be as involved, ask questions, get to know their friends and stuff like that.
Absolutely. One last question, and it's interesting because you can see the influence of being on the youth council. Here's an alumni here. Charlene was asking, how is youth engagement generally these days? Do we find more youth are showing up, are passionate, and do you feel that there's a decline? Do you feel that engaged beyond youth do you feel they're being engaged generally beyond the youth participatory budget? And in addition, she had a part two, and I promise this is the last question. I usually don't take questions.
Please, no rush.
Okay. And the other one was if you could also talk to, and as I said before, Charlene, thank you for reminding me. There's impact on our young people when it comes to, this immigrant, situation, how the federal government is mandating some things. We do have a mayor and governor that, standing 10 toes down. But if you could just give a general of, are they engaging as much? I know you gave your word earlier, but her specific was where's in comparison to 20 years ago to now, what are some of your findings or observations?
For me, again, I've been doing this work for 20 years, man. I think what I've tried to bring to this role, right, since we launched, is one that a few things. I'm gonna say a few things. I think one, the difficulty before our office existed is that all this work falls on a youth worker. So not only do you got to work with the young people, but you also got to connect with other youth workers and create spaces for that. That's where like the Youth Workers Alliance came in, right? But that was all being done by youth workers that were already doing full-time jobs, having to step. So that's the role we've tried to really step into is remove, like, what work can we take from the youth workers so that they can focus on their young people. And we created our partner network, which is honestly, truthfully inspired by the Youth Workers Alliance. I wanted to pick that up and bring my own taste to it. And right now it's made up of 2,000 individuals that work with young people across 500 youth serving organizations in Boston. So I think is that. And then in terms of the engagement side of it, is that we want to look at young people more than just jobs. I think a lot of the times in youth work back in the day, it was just throwing jobs at young people, and we also got to look beyond that, right? They're not like workhorses, right? We got to offer more than that. So that's where even Boston After Dark, which I know I talked about in my last conversation, came in. We did 24 events this last summer for young people. That it was just events. It wasn't come work. It was come hang out, come grab food, come have fun, come play games, come do this, come do that. And we engaged over 1,500 young people across the summer throughout those 24 events. So young people want to be engaged. They want spaces, and that's another thing we've learned even through the needs assessment, is that young people want spaces where they just can come and be young people, right? Like at school, they're being told what to do. At work, they're being told what to do. At home, they're being told what to do. They just want spaces where they can come and just kind of hang out, charge their phone, scroll through their phones, meet other friends, play basketball, paint, do this, do that. So the engagement is there. I think it's up to us as adults to create these spaces. It's like that. I forgot the name of the movie, but it's like that. Build it and they will come, right? And it's always that model that I try to apply to what I do, man. We create the spaces and young people show up, man. Young people show up.
I'm glad to hear that. It's youth work has changed. You all are dealing with a generation that from the little ones now walking up to you at 4 years old talking about, I don't like how you said that to me and how that made me feel. Huh? To, those young people that may have not had that liberty and know how to speak out of their emotional intelligence. Now you get some interesting outbursts, and it's like, because again, we were reared differently. And so, Pedro, I'm glad for you that you came and took the time today. Thank you for talking about the picture and giving clarity to that. Thank you also for keeping us up to date of what's going on. Thank you also for the advice that you gave parents about. Please keep me abreast about the date. Get me the information and I will share it. And I think we got most of the information here. There's some debate going on about racial quota versus, maybe life experience quota, neighborhood quota, and whatnot. And so it trying to keep every level of equity is the goal. But getting there, it is interesting. But the more we give people, our young people, the information, the more that apply, that gives them the opportunity to diversify it as much as they can. And so, yes, sir. I'm glad to have you here with us today, brother.
Appreciate you always, man. I appreciate the space, man. And just, one last plug in.
Yes.
Again, my favorite quote to every room I walk in, I always tell parents, I tell youth workers, I tell young people themselves the same thing. And I'll say it here to your listeners, is put me to work, man. I'm all about the work. Anybody that knows me knows that I do this because it's my life's work, man. It's my passion. I always say, I'm Picasso with it, and I'm painting my masterpiece with this work that we're doing here. So it's just put me to work, man. Honestly, man, like we're always looking to improve. I love taking feedback. I love, it's a collaborative effort, man. We got to do this together. We got to raise these kids together. We got to, expose them to stuff. We got to give them opportunities, but I can't do it by myself. You can't do it by yourself. So my last plugin would be, my website is boston.gov/OYEA, OYEA. So boston.gov/OYEA. You can find my email on there. If not, you can hit up my office, ask for me, but put me to work, man. I got a team of 11, man. We all love what we do. We're all passionate about the population that we serve, man. And again, just put me to work, man. I'm here to serve, whether it's connecting your young people to resources, whether it's exposing them to programs we have, whether you have feedback that you want me to take into consideration. It's I'm always here, man. I'm always here, and I'm always open to collaborate. I'm always open for conversation. So just put me to work, man. I'm here to serve.
Absolutely. And to answer Dina's question, yes, we have 10% Black, and if you were to include North African is a proper term, but if for us to understand specifically when you're referring to North African, can you give us like an example of the North African When you say North Africa,
Yeah, honestly, I don't want to. I don't want to butcher it. Like I don't have the actual data in front of me in terms of what specific.
That's why I asked
What
you.
specific? Yeah. No, exactly. Like I don't know what specific countries they would come. That's data we could definitely pull up. I don't have it in front of me. But it's something I could definitely follow up with.
Dana, to your point, he said 65% of color, and then between the 10% that identify as Black and the 15% of North African, that would be 25%. That would be Black on the council. So thank you for that. And she also said thank you for the transparency and information today. And also, there's a parent. Look at Janina. Good to see you in the room, sis. Pedro, I'll check in with you. And thank you. A brother over here is saying Morocco, Egypt will qualify as North African. So I was trying to get that general sense just so we know. Because I don't know if we had geography when I was in BPS back in the day. Pedro, get off my screen before I get you in trouble. And brother, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Nah, please, man. Again, man, thank you. And a really one big thank you to you, man. I love your show. I'm always following. I love what you're doing, the conversations you hold, the spaces you create, the leaders you connect with, the information you share, man. So just big ups to you, man. And you know what I mean? And I'll circle back, man. Let's talk about this again in a few months, man, and just keep everybody updated with youth development as we go.
I'd be glad to do that. Let me, whenever you need to, just let me know.
I got you, man. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, brother. And give my good brother Maso the best, man.
I will, man, for sure, man. Appreciate you, Jimmy.
Yes, sir. Folks, I hope you got the information today. That, he gave some clarity, and, he gave clarity about how the picture got cropped, and also, more importantly, talked about the information and did admit that there could have been more intentionality and representation of our Black young people. And so Pedro's a good brother. He is a good brother. And if Calvin was in here saying hi and bigging up Pedro, and I myself as well, but Calvin, a little bit different. Calvin, if he didn't think so, you would know that too. So thank you all for being with us for Midday Java today. Listen, the Java Cafe is staying open until 9 o'clock tonight. At 8 p.m. tonight. And how did you not realize this? This should have been Teen Day in the Java Cafe. We just talked with Pedro about the Mayor's Youth Council. And tonight, as we are approaching this weekend and we're talking about teen dating awareness, teen dating violence awareness this week, we are having a Java After Dark tonight with two specialists that work in the area to talk about teen dating violence. And so it just dawned on me that Midday Java was for our teens and about our teens. And also tonight will be for parents. But I would tell you, if you got some, teenagers around, it's Java After Dark. They're going to be professional. But yeah, maybe I need to have my own Java After Dark, and talk to our young people and some of our old people too. So that's tonight at 8 p.m. Please plan to come back tonight at 8 p.m. And this episode is being sponsored by our partner, Action for Boston Community Development Health Services, otherwise known as ABCD. They'll be with us at 8 p.m. tonight. And shout out to our folks over at Teens in Print. Literally last night, I'm playing with my website, and I ain't published it yet. I've been messing around with my own blog page, and I just got to do some WordPress stuff, which is not my area. But we'll be doing some of that soon. With a couple of years ago, I met with Teens in Print and want to give them the opportunity to write. I would love to hear their thoughts, around things present. So, bro, please inbox me and make sure that we can connect. And good to see Yoda, brother Carlos in the room. And I think that is it. What's Charlene? Would you say the council as a whole reflects the different communities in Boston? Was you asking me, Charlene, or is this a thread going on in the comments? Okay, I'm going to get ready to get off of here, everybody. See you later too, Jenny as well. And we'll see everybody tonight at 8 p.m. Thank you all for being with us today, and enjoy the heat wave. Have a good day, everybody. Peace.